What's up? Welcome to the Fast Break. Andrew Beaton, Daniel Carp, Danny Nolan here to break down the latest news in Duke men's basketball. And guys, the first thing we're going to talk about today is this game against Michigan in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Big win for Duke, especially coming off a loss against Arizona in the Garden. What did you see from this team that you thought was particularly special in this game?
Well, Danny, it was the most complete game that Duke had played on both ends of the floor this season. You're really seeing a Blue Devil team that's finally starting to find its identity on the defensive end. You talk about a rocky start to for Duke on the defensive end this season, allowing 90 points to a one-win Vermont team at home. That was really the wake-up call that they needed, and they've responded. They went to New York, Madison Square Garden, played two solid defensive games, even though they lost to Arizona, and then came back home for the ACC Big Ten Challenge. They shut out Michigan's leading scorer, held Nick Stauskas without a field goal. He was coming into that game averaging 20.3 points a game. They banged with Mitch McGarry down low, kept him from converting easy buckets inside. You talk about that high ball pressure by Tyler Thornton and Matt Jones throughout the game. Really disrupted the flow of the Wolverine offense, and that's what made the difference for Duke.
And one of the things I really loved that Coach K did in this game against Michigan was that he gave Jabari Parker a lot of help in the post. You saw at almost all points throughout the game one of Josh Hairston, Emil Jefferson, or Marshall Plumlee was on the court down low, which is a big difference from previous games when at many points Jabari would be playing the 5 and Rodney would be playing the 4. So when you have the help of one of those three in the game, it allows Parker to get some help down low, and it also allows Rodney Hood to play more of his natural position at the 3, where his length is really a plus, his athleticism is really a plus, and then it really takes some of the load off those guys from having to bang with bigger guys down in the post.
You think about the positive takeaways from this Michigan game. One of the biggest things you got to talk about is the scoring balance from Duke, because it was the first time all season that somebody not named Jabari Parker or Rodney Hood led Duke in scoring. That man, of course, would be Quinn Cook, who scored all 24 of his points in the second half, really came on then offensively. But really the bench is one of the big positives. Best minutes all season you've seen from Marshall Plumlee, Matt Jones. Andre Dawkins came in and sparked them with 2 big threes in the second half. Emil Jefferson was great in his minutes. Really a lot of good things happening off the bench for Duke. They were showcasing their depth. But Andrew, it was one guy that you didn't see off the bench for Duke that could tell the story. Rashid Suleiman didn't play.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things to look at throughout the season, because I don't think it's sustainable for this Duke team to be playing at its highest potential if Rashid isn't on the court for 20 minutes a game. You saw he had some huge games last year. He averaged 12 points per game last year. He has maybe the third most offensive scoring potential on this team behind Parker and Cook. And for this team to be playing the best ball in the country in March and April, he has to be a big factor, whether that's off the bench or starting.
And so someone who will not be on the bench for the rest of the year will be Alex Murphy. You reported earlier, Andrew, that he will be transferring. Give us a little bit of background and detail as to what happened in that situation.
So he came to Duke a year earlier than some people thought he would when he reclassified. And then you have when he first came to Duke, a lot of people thought he'd be getting big minutes as a freshman, but he suffered a concussion. They decided to redshirt him. So that happens, and then he never really found a way to crack the rotation after that. It's not as if he had any big fights with the coaching staff or anything. He's just a really talented player who probably deserves more minutes than were available for him on such a deep Duke team. That's not necessarily something that's going to change in the next couple years, and it will be interesting to see where he goes and how that affects next year's roster.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. And you look at possible landing spots for Alex Murphy. No one has announced yet where he's going to go, but a lot of speculation is that he could end up at the University of Florida, which is where his older brother Eric, who's now with the Chicago Bulls, played his college ball. So it'll be interesting to see in the coming weeks where he ends up. You could really tell throughout his 2 years playing for this Duke team that he really wanted to be a part of this program. He wanted to find a way to crack the rotation here. Something just wasn't fitting, and I think he waited as long as humanly possible to make this decision because he wanted to not lose the year of eligibility he's going to lose when he transferred, because he's already redshirted once. But inevitably, I think he made the decision that it was best for him to get him onto the court somewhere else.
For more information on this story, be sure to stay checked into the Blue Zone blog for the Duke Chronicle. And for Andrew Beaton and Daniel Carp, I'm Danny Nolan. We'll see you next time on The Fast Break.